the old race car sets that we had as kids.
Where you used to set them up around the house and run your electric cars really fast, and then they'd fly right off on the corners.
Right?
We didn't want to do the flying off on the corner part.
It's just this and this to this.
And I said, you know what? We're not going to not do a dirt road because we just washed our RV. We're not those people.
But she was so clean.
Yeah.
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
In this episode, we leave our campsite near Glenwood, New Mexico. We backtrack down Highway 180 a little bit and turn off on Highway 78 through Mule Creek and cross in to Arizona. And then we continue on down Highway 191 in Arizona. Getting on Highway 191 in Arizona, we traveled down to Three-Way. We had previously talked about possibly doing a motorcycle ride up Highway 191 to Alpine. It's said to be the best motorcycle road in the United States, which not that many people know about, but it was really cold. So we continued on to Safford and then continued down 191 south towards Willcox, and a little south of Willcox to our harvest host for the night. The next day we continued on through these back roads, heading towards Tombstone, and spent a little bit of time in Tombstone that day, then continued on our usual back road route, Highway 82, I believe, or 62, I'm not sure, over to Sonoida, and then north up towards Tucson, and we checked out the Saguaro National Park in the afternoon, and continuing on from there, we headed north and then took a back road across and camped out at a nice little spot in the desert.
Hello.
Hi.
So in this episode, we leave Glenwood, New Mexico, where we were camped in a little campsite on the side of the road.
I don't know if it was BLM or state or something. It was kind of a campground with a pit toilet and campsites, but it was free. It was pretty nice.
Yeah. So
and it was the first place we flew the drone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First place on the whole trip.
Took me over a month to convince Gord to take his drone out. So
yeah, the drone has a lot of connectivity procedures and stuff to get flying, and then you don't use it for a little while and you forget, and
there's the fear of losing it and crashing it.
The whole getting back into it again and going through the little the hardships of learning, and but yeah, I did it there and I almost lost it.
Yep.
And learned what not to do from that aspect, and but I did get to fly it around a bit, and that was the beginning of droning.
Yeah. So we left that campground and we headed started to make our way towards Arizona.
Highway
178.
178.
Yeah.
Which it seems like New Mexico is mountains heading north south, and you just kind of go over one and go over the next and go over the next. So this was the next one to get us into Arizona.
We've done many on this trip so far, and this particular route was kind of similar to the route that we took going into Silver City, where it's not recommended for commercial vehicles over a certain size just because of its extreme grades and narrowness and the windies and whatnot. So, but of course, that's just right up our alley. So
yeah, we're sort of attracted to those, even though, you know, it's a slow go and it's a hard work on the Dutchess, but we just put her in first gear and slowly make our way up.
We made our way to the Arizona border. I don't even know where it was along that route, but we came across the Arizona border.
Yeah, it was some nice pine forests and not, you know, just rolling hills in the pine forest, and that's where we got into Arizona. And then There was a national forest there too that we went by. I think we made a good into Tonto then.
I'm not sure if it's Tonto or if it was still Gila, or it could even have been Lincoln. I'm not sure. We've gone through
I think Lincoln was the pass before.
That was the first one, yeah. We've gone through so many national
forests. I think the two forests are
forests.
Gila and Tonto there, but yeah, we were in one or the other, I think, and nice pine forest, and then it was that, slow mountain pass climb up the side of a mountain for a long ways. Sort of like the previous pass when we were headed towards Silver City.
Leaving New Mexico, heading into Arizona. Cord went to go take a picture and I thought he was climbing the hill. Instead, I can feel him on top of the motorhome. He's determined to get a shot of the winding road and the Arizona side. That's dedication. There's stickers all over the welcome to Arizona sign, but I think it's too tall, so cattle crossing's getting it.
Then once we broke over the top of that one, we got into the vast expanse of Arizona.
Well, no, not yet. First, before we did that, we came across like the ultimate windy road. Because it was after our windy road that it flattened right out with mountains that you couldn't get to.
Oh, yeah? Okay. Yeah?
He was there. He was with me.
Yeah.
But
many roads.
There were so many roads, yeah. But on this particular one, we came up. We were still on Route 178. We came up onto the top. We sort of, I think, probably like maybe the highest point on that road. And it opened. He's right. It did open up. But it was still hilly. And as you look down into the valley, you could see the highway go down. And it just zigged and zagged all the way down. And it reminded us of, the old race car sets.
Slot cars?
Slot cars. We're dating ourselves here. But the old race car sets that we had as kids.
Where you used to set them up around the house and run your electric cars really fast. And then they'd fly right off on the corners.
Right?
We didn't want to do the flying off on the corner part. But
there wasn't, no.
Yeah.
So, but that's what it reminded us of. So we, as we did our descent, we did some video of it, which I sped up for you because it was a very long descent. And we wanted the Dutchess to look like a race car on a race car track. So that's what we did.
Yeah, and coming over that peak into Arizona, it was very different views than what you get in New Mexico because there's quite a few of those views I've seen in Arizona where you're up in altitude, but you can see the plains ahead of you that go on forever, and then the mountains way on the other side, and it's like forever away.
Yeah, like after we got to the bottom of that windy race car bit, that's exactly what it did. It just opened up, and then it flattened out, and there was mountains all the way around us, and it was just flat and straight. And it was like we could never get to the mountains. They were there, but we couldn't get to them, which was really weird for us, being that that's all we'd been doing for the last, I don't know, month and a half, is just this and this to this. But it was still pretty cool.
Arizona's got some flatness, but with that gives you amazing skies. So it's a give or take.
Yeah,
we had amazing skies in Texas too.
We did.
But the Arizona, you got, the sunsets and the sunrises, because there's so much distance between you and the hills a lot of the time, you have a really good sunrise and sunset.
For sure. We got into Arizona and did our descent down onto the flat part. We made our way into
Safford. Yeah, which it was just the first, bigger town where we could get some supplies, fuel, and we decided it was time to wash the old girl.
Yeah.
Dutchess.
The Dutchess. Not this old girl. This old girl. Yeah,
it was pretty dirty from the trip.
She was really dirty.
We hadn't washed it.
Yeah, for the time that we've owned her, I don't think we've ever given her a proper bath.
It before we left, but that never happened, and then road grime on the way, and it was time to give her a wash. So we spent some time at the car wash, got her cleaned up and shining. And
after that, we left.
Actually, we decided on the go because we were headed towards Phoenix.
True.
And then we decided, you know what? Let's go south.
Yep.
And we'll head towards we were thinking Tombstone area.
Yeah.
Check out Tombstone. People say go to Tombstone. And so we headed in that direction.
Yeah, and we ended up in Willcox.
We found a last minute
Harvest Host.
in Willcox. We went there. That was really nice. And
Yeah.
we ate in a restaurant, which we don't do very often.
We did, and it was
pretty
a
good.
restaurant and like a craft brewery, all right on site. And the idea with the Harvest Host is that you book it and you can camp there usually for free, in the hopes that then you will go and you'll buy something from them, or you'll eat in their restaurant, or you'll go into their brewery, whatever it may be, that you purchase something. So in this instance, we probably could have stayed somewhere for like a week because we really enjoyed our stay there. But it was amazing. Flights of beer and charcuterie boards of cheese, and it was awesome. It was a really awesome stay. So it was definitely worth the money. We spent the night there, and then the next day we got up bright and early and we made our way to Tombstone.
Yeah, and we generally, we do have our GPS set to route, avoid highways.
Yep.
Which doesn't mean you avoid all paved highways. It means you avoid the major interstates and so on, right? So it follows these paved back roads all the way from Canada.
Yep.
We followed these paved back roads, and they were like really good. We
Yeah,
didn't hit any really bad roads.
The only ones
other
that
than
we
around Dallas, getting around the
Dallas.
city.
Yeah, that was our.
But they were all paved. They were just rough.
Yeah.
But then we learned something about Arizona. A lot of the back roads aren't paved.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
they're not,
we
yeah.
followed our GPS leaving from the Harvest House in Willcox, headed towards Tombstone in the morning. And lo and behold, we turned one corner and it was gravel road. And so we stopped.
So we stopped.
Because we just washed the Dutchess.
Yeah. And then we turned around.
Yeah,
and then
we did turn around.
and we turned around and we said, well, we'll take a different route. So we rerouted and we got to that route and it was dirt.
No, we're not going to not do a dirt road because we just washed our RV. We're not those people.
But she was so clean.
Yeah. And so we went on the dirt road, and hey, we're going into an Old West town. You got to take the Old West in, right, on the dirt.
I suppose.
Like a cowboy.
So when we took it was like Ghost Town Lane. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got on some nice rolling paved road again that brought us into Tombstone.
Into Tombstone, yeah.
We checked out the Old West town a little bit.
Yeah.
If you're into history,
And Western history,
the
Doc
stories
Holliday.
they tell about all these guys that were around supposedly or whatever, I don't know.
It was Doc Holliday and the OK
Yeah.
Corral, the great
Yeah, that's
shootout.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we checked it out and we moved on.
We moved out. We got there really early. We left really early, so When we got there, the town was pretty much empty. None of the shows were going yet. A lot of the shops even weren't open yet. I think a lot of that sort of starts happening, you know, closer to noon. And we got there like first thing in the morning, so we just kind of wandered
pay
around.
for all the gun shows, I
Everything.
think, which we really weren't that keen
Yeah.
on paying to watch some guys act out a gunfight.
Yeah, so it was
So,
like, it's very touristy.
Just wasn't our thing. Yeah.
So like if you want tours of the old bird cage, you have to pay for that. If you want to go into the OK Corral and watch shootout, you have to pay for that. If you want to go to into the old Tombstone town where they do another big shootout, you have to pay for that too. So everything is extra in there. But if that's your thing, you're gonna really enjoy it. It's done really, really well. It's preserved very well. But for us, it was sort of a quick in, out, and we were back on the road.
Just checked it out and hit the road.
So here we are in Tombstone, Arizona. The completely preserved, I guess, or restored Old West Town.
With a Christmas tree.
Well, it is that time. In the historic Birdcage Theater. Apparently this is one of the only remaining like fully authentic, still operating businesses in town. Well,
Still operating?
probably not the prostitution part of it, but
That's
It was never ceased for close to 9 years. It opened in June of 1881, and when it opened, it was more than a theater. It was also a saloon, a casino, and house of questionable affection. It was the scene of 16 gun and knife fights, resulted with the loss of life of 25 men and 1 woman. Close to 140 bullet holes scattered about this building. The Cherry Wood Belly Up Bar, it is original. It was built in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It took them 6 months to bring to us, but once it arrived, they moved it all in place and they held the grand opening December 26, 1881. The bar has remained in this location 142 years. That narrow set of stairs behind you, without doubt, was the busiest staircase in Tombstone. Those young fellows, they wore out those top 3 or 4 steps, visiting their lady of the evening. Go ahead and have a look. And those girls practiced their trade out of one of 14 birdcage cribs, connected by a walkway nicknamed the catwalk. You were on our casino floor.
yeah. So we got back on the road and we started making our way towards Tucson.
Yes. Marianne spied the Saguaro
National Park.
Park.
And I was like, I
she
love
likes those
cactuses.
cactuses.
I do. I love all of them. I am like, I want to take one of everything home with me if I could. But the saguaros were one thing that you don't see in Texas, you don't see in New Mexico. but you see lots of them in Arizona. And so I was so excited to see them. We went and we did Saguaro National Park. And so...
Which is not like the national park where you go hiking and all this stuff.
Well, you can.
Yeah, there is
can.
hiking.
There is hiking trails.
But it's basically just a paved loop.
Yeah.
One way that does a loop round and back out. It's pretty, it's smaller.
Yeah, like you can go, there's like parking lots throughout the loop where you can stop and you can go and do these hikes throughout the park as well. But yeah, it's definitely not like a big bend or anything.
For
Cyclists
from Tucson.
Yeah.
They're all just lapping around that thing.
Yeah, for sure. So, which makes it a little tough because the road is very narrow. But anyway, we went and we did the loop and it was super cool. And so we spent just a little time through there and then we were back on the road again looking for our campsite. So we're in Saguaro National Park. Gonna check out some saguaro cactuses. So the saguaro, it takes over 50 years for it to grow its first arm. And once they hit 15 plus feet, they're over 100 years old. In August of this year, the park experienced a blowdown. And it ended up uprooting or damaging over 1,200 saguaros, prickly pears, and all the other cacti in the park. So we got ourselves out of the city, and which took a really long time to get out of the urban areas. And then I can't remember the name of the highway we were on to the highway we wanted to get, but there is a little connector in between the two. And so we said, okay, well, we're gonna hang a left and we're gonna go down this little connector road.
We actually were looking on I-Overlander and said, hey, on this road across, there's some spots where we may be able to camp.
Yeah, there was lots of BLM land. So
Bureau of Land Management, so free camping.
Free camping, yeah. So we said, well, we'll zip down there. It's starting to get dark. We'll go down here and we'll find ourselves a spot. Well, we turned down this road and honestly had to ask ourselves, why did we just go do Saguaro National Park? I mean, don't get me wrong, Saguaro was really, really cool, but this road was off the chart. It was like, and it wasn't just saguaros. It was like every kind of cactus you could imagine on this road with mountains in the background and the sun was setting. Doesn't get any better, especially for this girl. It was absolutely beautiful. So we kind of tooted along that road and found ourselves a little BLM spot, and we pulled in.
Just back roads that pull off here and there, and you just kind of drive up one. And we saw one that looked decent, so I actually walked up a little bit to make sure we could turn around. And there's cows wandering around and stuff. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
We parked in there, and just as we parked, the sunset just really started to come on. And so Gord pulled out his drone. Again, yeah. And I climbed on top of the motorhome, and we took a bunch of pictures and video. And then as soon as it came down, the coyotes came out.
Yeah, lots of coyotes.
Lots of coyotes, and they pretty much...
there was cows, there was donkeys, there was coyotes.
And they all sang to us like all night long. It was pretty cool. And so then we spent the night there at that campground, and then the next day we made our way to Quartzsite. So be sure to stay tuned for our next episode, because that is going to be all about our times in Quartzsite, Arizona. So bye for now.
Bye.
Place that looks like it's completely out of this world to dig for rocks. Here we are. There's an attack tarantula. Yeah, guess who found it? Oh yeah, that would be me. We are heading to the Desert Bar.
And I got the t-shirt.
And I have the shakes.
This morning, and we went over to the big tent show because
going in.
The time is now. It's now.